Hi everybody, welcome to Shaky Sports Journeys. For the first time we have three faces on screen, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mr. Ryan Flannigan. Hello Ryan, and special guest today, very special guest, one of a very likeable guy in Scottish cricket, loved by many. We're joined today by Neil Francis Ian McCallum. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks, Shaky. Hello, Flanners. I wasn't quite expecting the Francis chat, but nice to see you, boys.
Good to see you as well, mate. Good to see you. It's been a while. I think last time I seen you was at Stirling when you boys had just turned over Clydesdale to win the Scottish Cup.
That would have been 2014. That's right. That's a while.
That's mental. 6 years. The amount of time I've spent with you prior to that. I mean, you practically grew up in my neck of the woods. We'll talk about that at some point as well. Cross my loof, as you call me all the time. But I want to take you, what we'll do is we'll take you through a wee bit of a journey today. So we're going to start all the way back. You were born 22nd of November 1977. And I mean, I'm scary to say that you're now 43 years old. I can't imagine you being a 43-year-old. But born and bred in a place called Curry. Where is that?
Curry's on the outskirts of Edinburgh, just past sort of Collington on the way out to Balerno. Mum and Dad are still there, actually, 43 years on from when I was born. But yeah, no, they've lived there all our days. And yeah, my mum worked at Watson's, and that's kind of where I ended up at school. So yeah, we've been there all our days.
Yeah, see, that's another question I want to ask you. You went to private school. That just doesn't. I mean, I've played a lot of cricket with you, been around you a lot. I mean, you're a wee bit of an Ed.
Mate, that's something that I've absolutely wound them up all my days about. Like this guy, right? This PE teacher, this wannabe posh man that's at Watson, and just an absolute head case. How has he ended up there?
Hang on a minute. If I'm a Ned, what on earth is Flanners?
I'm a Jakey.
He's a Jakey. I'm a Ouija. And you are the most unposhest private. You're the most unposhest private school boy I think I've ever met, Mr. McCallum.
Well, that's nice to hear. That's nice to hear.
So how was? But tell us about your childhood then. What was it like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I went to Watson's. My mum taught in the primary school. My sister and I attended there. Played sport. I didn't really start cricket till about primary 6. Now at school it's offered in P4, P5. But yeah, I didn't start till primary 6. I probably hit some balls with my dad when I was younger and played some football, played a little bit of rugby at school, but didn't play a huge amount of cricket, and it certainly wasn't in Curry anyway. So yeah, no. And then in the holidays, we would head away to the West Coast and have holidays over there. And there wasn't it was more water sports and sort of. My mum and dad have got a small boat, and a lot of our family are over there. So, yeah, I didn't really, as I say, didn't get into cricket till sort of later on in the primary school, really, whereas kids are exposed to it far more now with all the opportunities, not just at Watson's, but at all the clubs in and around Edinburgh, which is great.
Neil, see, when you were growing up, and you mentioned school, obviously, cricket didn't come into school till later. Was it still the same back then? Because obviously, when I was growing up at Kells High School, it was very much of cricket wasn't the sport that you want to play. Was it the same back in your day as well? Do you get a bit of stick for it or not?
I didn't get much stick. No, it was just it was kind of just really rugby in the winter and then cricket in the summer, and that's the way it went. And I played P6, P7, S1, S2, and then started to sort of get into the district stuff under 16s, but certainly didn't get any stick for it or anything. It was just
I think Ryan's forgetting he went to a public school in Kelso and you went to a private school. Maka was a bit confused there. He's like, no, mate. I mean, it was part of our curriculum.
Exactly.
You just got torched for it. Yeah, no, as you say, Shaky, it was just part of the curriculum, and it's what we did, really.
So a bit like Hutchie, same kind of setup. Rugby, cricket, two main sports.
Very, very similar, yeah, exactly the same. Same at all the schools in Edinburgh, and your Heriots, your Mercastons, your Ackies, your Fetties, Lorettos. It's very similar, and it still is today, really. But we're trying to get more girls playing, trying to get more and more teams out. Maybe going down the pink ball line, which is far more exciting than and shorter games now. So there's more runs, more wickets. It's more exciting.
No, good. So what is it? What is it? What is it you teach? Are you high school? You primary school? Where is it you teach? Because obviously, for the listeners, you're a PE teacher.
Yeah.
At Watson's now, yes, and have been for many years. So what age group do you teach?
So it's a big department. There's about 18 or 19 members of staff, and we teach across the lower primary, which is your nursery, primary 1, primary 2, primary 3. Then we've got the junior school classes from P4 to P7, and then S1 to S6. So it's a really busy place. 1 minute you can be teaching nursery, 4-year-olds, how to try and do a really simple forward roll. The next class you might have seniors giving you a bit of jip and a bit of banter, which is that's why I love it, because every class is different. You can go from different age groups, and it's a great place to work.
I've seen Neil do a plenty forward rolls in my time, mostly without clothes on, but I'm sure that's why he loves it, being a teacher at Watson's, because he's a young kid at heart anyway, that's for sure.
Let's take the forward rolls out. It's normally cartwheels and handsprings, but
So tell me, when did you start realising that you were decent at cricket? I mean, you touched on their district cricket and stuff like that. So was Watson's the first club that you started as a junior?
Yeah, I mean, I remember S2. I scored quite a lot of runs, a few 70s, 80s against other schools, and then in third year I got into the first 11 under the watchful eye of Willie Morton, and started to get into the East under 16. I think the first year I was kind of 12th man, 13th man. There was a lot of good players: Ayaz Gould, Brian Townsend, Stuart Moffat, Fraser Watts. And then the next year, because I was young enough, I got the extra year, so I was able to sort of cement my place in the East under 16 team, and then did quite well there. Got a few runs, and then in the trial match managed to get a few as well, and got into the under 16 side that played Wales up at Broughty Ferry.
Lovely Broughty Ferry. You mentioned the late Willie Morton there. Now, I have a lot of fond memories of turning up at Watsonians and watching you two get up to just loads of different antics, flying around on that you had the tractor as well, and you would be flying all over the place. He must have had a massive influence on you as a cricketer and coming through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm holding back the tears here. Willie was a legend. He really was. I had 2 years when I left school, and I sort of said to Willie when I was at uni, Willie, is there any chance for a summer job? And he was like, Mac, I'll see what I can do. And sure enough, 2 summers there, rolling wickets, cutting grass, getting up to all sorts of antics with my good mate, Paul Taylor, known as Swees, and what a laugh we had, honestly. But jokes aside, I mean, Willie was a great mate, really fond of him, but his knowledge, as you mentioned there, Shaky, it rubbed off on me, his enthusiasm for cricket, not just training, but working hard and, bringing that into a changing room and just trying to keep people going. When you have good days, you have bad days, but just trying to keep everyone motivated. And Willie was brilliant at that. And to work for him and then be really good mates with him and to babysit Keith. He asked me and Sweeties to babysit Keith when he was younger, so he and Donna could go out. And I don't know how he trusted us with that, but
God knows what you got up to, man. God, you probably came home and the house was upside down.
Well, yeah. There was one story. We were playing table tennis one Saturday morning before the Scottish Darts Open. Keith was older by this stage, and a lady from the Watsonian club went into work. But I was playing with very little clothing on, basically my boxer shorts on. And this is at 6:30 in the morning. Sweeties and I are playing ping pong. And the lady says to Willie on the Monday morning, Willie, were you playing table tennis at 6:30 on Saturday morning? And he was just like, oh, no, that was Sweeties and Michael. And we stayed over before we went to Glasgow for the Scottish Darts Open. But no, I mean, all jokes aside, Willie was a legend. And I think about him every day when I'm at school, just about.
What was there? Is there any sort of standout stories from Morts? Any absolute beauties?
Where do we start?
There'd be too many. There'd be so many. Feel free to tell us one.
Some man.
We were at the caravan, and this is honestly true. There was about 6 of us through there. Keith was about, I don't know, first year, and it's about 2 a.m, and we've had a few beers, and we're walking home. And Willie had the old, remember the old Surridge tracksuit, the white one?
Yeah.
We're walking back to the caravan, and suddenly a car came, and the rule was if a car came, you had to hide. So we've all dived off the road, and Willie's dived into the bracken, what he thought was hiding, but he's actually just lying at the side of the road. And the car's pulled up to him, And it's 2 a.m. and the guy's going, "Excuse me, are you all right?" Willie's gone, "I'm fine. Yep, I'm absolutely fine." Lying there in a white tracksuit at the side, standing out a mile. But
meant to be hiding. Meant to be
we're all
hiding.
rolling our heads off. Willie's lying at the side of the road in his white tracksuit. What a man.
He was a
He liked a bit of tennis, didn't he? Jesus, ooh, what a boy.
Oh,
he was
unbelievable.
Such a just always had a knack of just one-liners. His one-liners were just always
incredible.
on point.
I'm good friends with Keith. I caught up with him a couple of weeks ago when Ollie was playing football over in Queensferry, and he's got a wee girl now, Ava. So yeah, it's really nice that we keep in touch.
My daughter's called Ava as well.
Good choice. Good choice.
So that's nice. Good choice. Well done, Keith. I like the choice of name there. No, listen, that's great. That's great. You know, I remember that's when I first met you, Macca. This lunatic that just turning up at Watsonians and just you honestly get just full of energy and just flying all over the place. And you and Willie you seem like you had quite a bit of banter around those parts. It's great to hear. You then you decided to go glory hunting. Well, that's the only way I can see it. You ditched Watsonians. Well, this guy at the top left did the same thing as well, and you both headed over to the Stags. I don't get how, as much as I was talking about youth, like Macca, I sometimes wonder how you fit in at a private school. How this Kelsey lad fits in at Grange, I'll never know. But you decided to go to Grange. What brought about the move?
Grange had asked me a couple of years before that. It was 2004. I moved in 2004 in the winter and played in the summer of 2005. But they'd asked me about 2 or 3 years before that, and I said no. I stayed loyal to Watsonians, but I was doing the captaincy. I was trying to organise the teas, and it just became quite a big burden. And decided when Andy Wilson messaged me early 2000 or late 2004, come for a drink. We went for a drink, we had a chat, and like the club are keen that you come to join them. And to be honest, you know what? It was the best thing I did. I got some runs I scored 100 in my first game down at Ayr, which was a relief and a really nice start. And then managed to get a few runs that summer, and then got back into the national squad, which was kind of the goal, really. So,
well, I was going to say, was that a big reason for you making that move? I mean, you were obviously knocking on the door for national honours. Now, was that part of the reason as well?
Yeah, it was just to get back and enjoy my cricket, really, try and get away from all the pressures of the captaincy. And I think I'd done maybe 4 or 5 years at Watsonians, and I'd probably not scored the runs that I should have. Had a great time there with Drummo. James Henderson was a huge influence, the professional, great guy, great player. Learned a lot from him. But yeah, it was a really a fresh challenge and something that I probably needed to do, and one that I look back on that I think, you know, I probably should have done a couple of years earlier, but as I say, stayed loyal to Watsonians and then decided to move over to Grange, and it was a good move in the end.
See, Macca, so just if people don't know, so were you playing for Scotland whilst you were at Watsonians or not? Did you get your first cap when you were at Grange?
Do you know what? I got my first cap. Going back to Willie, I was in the bothy at lunch, and the phone went, and it was Willie, and he answered it, and his eyes cast across the room to me, and it was Jim Love. Right. But I didn't know that, and he was basically asking, could Macca come away for the Triple Crown down south? And Willie was sort of looking at me going, yeah, no, that shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, I made my debut in 2000, and then I think I got maybe 14 caps, or maybe just 12 or 13 caps, and my high score was 14, and just didn't get the runs that, you know, I was looking for, and it wasn't a great start. And then I'm sure you'll touch upon it, Shakely, but it got a bit better after that time because I worked hard on my game between sort of 2003 and 2006 when it kind of took off a bit more.
Do you think you weren't quite? What was the reasons in your first stint coming in that you think you didn't? Obviously, we'll talk about that. You've said you worked on your game and stuff, but do you think you weren't quite ready yet? Do you think that came a little bit too early? I
think I was ready. I probably didn't take my chances. Probably a couple of poor shots in there. Second cap was at Lords and nicked off first innings and second for, you know, not many, which was a great occasion, and I was slightly disappointed about that. But yeah, just didn't get the runs that I was looking for. under Jim Love. And then Juddy called me back in early 2000s, went to Ireland. Again, didn't get many runs, and I was thinking, man, this is tough going. And again, went back to club cricket. I remember Ryan saying to me, Mac, you've got to let the ball come to you a bit more. You lunge at it. I had quite a big front pad that went hard at it, hard hands, and that's maybe why I was nicking off or getting LBW, falling over it. And just tried to work on that and try and stay taller. It paid off later on.
Sounds like you were maybe just putting a bit too much pressure in yourself, Mac, at early doors. You were because you by the time I played with you in the national team, you were very settled, pretty settled as a national team player, and I seen you probably play some of your best cricket. Obviously, I didn't see the stint under Jim Love, but it sounds to me just like, because you were quite a you like to get the feet going early, and it sounds like maybe early you were just putting a bit too much pressure on yourself. So by the time you came back for the second stint, probably mentally your head was in a better place.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I remember I played a game for the 18 down in Durham at the racecourse ground, and I was maybe 20 not out at tee, and Jim Love pulled me aside, and I don't know if you guys ever met Jim or.
Yeah, has a good.
Honestly, he was the hardest bloke you've ever met. He was hard as nails, scared of him massively, and he pulled me aside. He was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He says, "You're 20 not out. The spinners are on. Play your normal game. Just get out to the ball." So I remember after tee, taking guard, 3 or 4 balls, whack. Spinner went over the top and ended up getting about 110 not out. And at the end of the day, he was like, "I picked you to play your natural game. Just play it." So that was nice. That was a good moment. Before my first cap, that I managed to get 100 for the 18 down at Durham. Hendo was watching, and the hard as nails Jim Love.
Yeah, both of them were pretty hard, to be honest, when they were together. It was quite a twosome. But they knew the cricket, so I mean they knew what they were talking about. But yeah, Jim wasn't one to mince his words, was he?
No, he wasn't. Honestly, I remember once in Holland, we had an under-19 tour, and Scott Dempsey was just throwing some balls to me, and he's thrown one on my pads, and I've just pinged it off my pads, and I've heard this smash, and I've gone, "Oh no!" Tennis club window, great big window, gone, smashed. So we've got back in the changing room, and Jim Love is like, "Guys, what's so funny?" And someone's piped up. Oh, they used to call me Caravan in those days. Caravan stuck one of your balls through the tennis club window. He's gone, "You what? You what? F the window. Go and get me effing ball back." And I was like, "Oh man." So I had to leave the changing room, jump the massive fence, scamper in, grab his ball back. Honestly, he was hard as nails. But I think once you got to know him, you broke down a few of those barriers. He was a really nice guy at heart, but geez, the front he put up was
frightening. You didn't piss around at training or anything like that. You just got your head down. One game I want to touch on, which is a game where I think a lot of people just really I think you really announced yourself as an international cricketer, was a game at Grange, your home grounds. You know it well. Beautiful sunny day against Pakistan, which I think it was your first full ODI. We were in serious trouble. I mean, we must have been 4 down for not very many. I think you batted 5 or maybe for 20, was it? Hammy gone, McNeil McRae gone. There was the top order was blasted out, and you and Ryan Watson, Mr. Rhino, came together and just started setting about the Pakistani spinners, which was kind of, you weren't really entitled to be doing that because we were meant to be struggling against their spinners, but you in particular decided to start playing your best shot. I mean, Ryan Flannigan wants to really pick your brains about that. He loves your sweep, but I mean, Danish Canaria, I think it was Shoaib Malik, Mohammed Hafiz, all proper one-day spinners.
Danish Canary in there as well.
Danish Canary as well, and you just started smoking them, getting that big toilet of yours down, big stride.
That's what you've got to do. Get that toilet down.
Tell us about going out to the middle, everything about that day, of your memory of it.
Oh man, when you were mentioning that, I get goosebumps about that. It was June time. Obviously, I had to get a day off school, and I remember doing the warm up, and we were doing some stretching, and Drino came over the top of me, and he was like, you're playing today. And I was like, oh, you're beastie, brilliant, you're beauty. You're batting 6. I was like, magic, thanks, Pete, that's great. And then I can't remember what happened to the toss. I think Pakistan maybe won it. Anyway, we ended up batting. So, you know, tracksuit on. I'll put the box and the thigh guard on, and, you know, just I'll chill a wee bit. We'll get through the first 10. And then suddenly Stroppy's gone, Neil McRae's gone. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in there, pads on. And I mark out and I'm stretching and I'm in the tent and the place is rammed. There's 5,000 people there. It was baking hot and the wicket was magic. And I'm thinking, oh man, we're, you know, 10 for 2 or something. Suddenly it became 20 for 4 and floppy was LBW. I remember Darryl Hare's hand going up, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Out I go. So take guard. You've got Umar Gul steaming in from the pavilion end. You've got Mohammed Asif coming up the hill. And I'm just thinking, we could be 20 for 5 here, 20 for 6. And Rhino and I don't know, we just chatted and we said, let's try and get a partnership going. I remember Umar Gul bowled one and I just threw my hands at it and it scudded through backward point, hit the boundary, the roar. I was like, whoa, gee whiz, well, we're 24 for 4 now. But no, we managed to get a partnership going. And as you say, the spinners came on and yeah, just managed to get, I don't know, a couple of top edges off Shahid Afridi. He's got some choice words to say. He wasn't particularly complimentary. He had a right go at me. And then Danish Canary, I hadn't a clue what way Danish Canary was going. I was just literally getting the front pad down, rooming it away and you know, got a couple of way through there and down to the boundary. And yeah, we managed, as I say, get a partnership going. Rhino played beautifully for his 80. I think he was caught and bowled, which was a real shame.
There was so much time left when he got out as well. I was so disappointed because he could have went on and get a big 100 there.
I know, because we ended up getting just over 200. And I remember they were 90 for 5, and I was thinking, you know, we probably did well to get 200. I think my 68 was off about 140 balls. So,
no, but in the context of the game, Maka, I mean,
yeah,
4 down for 20.
So yeah, I mean, we got 203, and I said they were 90 for 5, and if we just snuck a couple more there, we could have had them in, you know, all sorts. But I think Mohammed Yusuf played beautifully, and then Razak smashed it at the end. But yeah, as you say, if Rhino had got a few more and we'd managed to maybe get, if he got 100, I maybe got 80 or 90, then we could have got 240, 250, and that would have been a different ball game altogether.
But Maka, that sums you up as a cricketer. You said 68 off 140 balls, but maybe that was you becoming the guy that you turned into, that guy as a grafter. Everyone knows what you're like in the middle. You mean you wear your heart on your sleeve. Does that just come naturally to you, mate? Was it because I know I've batted with you many times, and the one thing, it's always a good laugh, isn't it, when you're at the crease together? But you can see the determination, and I'll go on to talk about that 100 against Afghanistan as well in the final. I know they got beat, but was that something that just came natural to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. I wasn't sure what you guys were going to ask me today, but I think one of the things that stands out is that some of my finest innings for Scotland were when we were under massive amounts of pressure. And, you know, if I'd nicked off well, it wouldn't have really mattered. But actually, I really enjoy the fight. I enjoy digging deep and trying to battle through that and get through it and, you know, get a partnership with whoever it is, whichever batter's at the other end. Just, you know, that one against Afghanistan was Smudger, and we put on 100 and whatever it was for the 9th wicket. But just trying to get, you know, I tell the kids at school, just try and get a single and get down the other end when you're under pressure. And that, for me, was just trying to get that partnership going and get down the other end and try and get on top of a couple of bowlers if you can. You know, you've got to keep the scoring going, because if you don't, then that pressure builds and you do something stupid anyway. So that was
a sensational knock against Afghanistan, mate. I remember Hamid Hassan bowling 90 clicks easy that day. Remember he bowled a ball to Kyle, right? And it's went off a length and it's went over first slip's head and landed about 1 bounce 4. This guy was bowling rapid.
When he was at his peak, he was really sharp. But
that was some knock, mate. That's the best knock I've ever seen. I know we got beat, but just in terms of like absolute graft, difficult conditions, you know, it's difficult to celebrate 100, isn't it, when you're in a losing team? But I think you must have took a lot away for that as well, especially at your time of your career as well.
Yeah, I remember he bowled seriously quickly from the pavilion end in Dubai, and he bowled 20 overs before lunch. And the last over was as quick as his foot. I didn't face his first few, but again, that day I think we were 20 for 3, batting first in a 5-day final, which sadly lasted 2.5, maybe 3 days. But again, we were under the cosh, and it was just a case of, hey, right, here we go, head down. I know. By then I'd had quite a lot of, you know, circumstances like that, and so I had some experience to draw on, and just get through the next 5 overs. Can we get 10 runs in that period? And it was just small chunks, like knocking off a large total. Just you guys know I like to keep things nice and simple. So it was just trying to chip away and get to 50, get to 70, get to 80, and so not me personally, but the team and try and get there. And I mean that knock in Dubai was I enjoyed that. It was a tough slog, but it was rewarding at the end.
I heard a story, Flannigan. Do tell me, I mean, you were obviously on that tour. That's something we're going to touch on quite a bit, actually, because the man that we've got at the bottom of the screen today is probably one of the best. I'll say this, one of my favourite teammates to tour with. I'm sure, Flannigan, you would be the same. I mean, you're a great team man in the changing room, but off the field, you're just as much of a great character. You know, always got to just keep an eye what's going on when Macca's around. You know, he could be getting up to something, or could be some antics going on. But there was a few antics, I believe, in the old trip to Dubai, Flannigan.
The funny thing is, you know, you mentioned that Macca said, unfortunately, you know, we got beaten in about 2.5 days, and that was my first ever tour in the Scotland team. I didn't play; I was 12th man again, shot caller, but I was there. And it was good to be a part of the group and, learn for the senior people. But I think we got, we've seen Barasti Bar more than we saw the middle of the wicket, put it that way. And I always remember Macca walking out with this pink hat on, back to front in this Barasti Bar. And there was a pool there as well. And obviously it said, do not enter the pool. And I'm pretty sure Macca tried to enter this pool on a number of occasions.
Of course he did.
Russian bouncers said no. But there's one particular event I remember, and it's Berrington and Mr. McCallum. When you put these two together, you need to be very, very careful. So Juddy was one of the funniest guys ever. Obviously, Pete Steiner was the coach, and all I remember is we sat down at a nice team meal at the hotel, and having a few drinks, and Juddy's drinking red wine, and everyone's sitting away, and all of a sudden Juddy sort of goes, "Bloody hell, Peter, oh God, I'm burning up here, man." And he's like, so Juddy gets the red wine, and he starts smashing the red wine back because he thinks that, hey, Pera, someone's done something to me here, mate. So what happened was Macca and Richie had put Tabasco sauce in the red wine, right? And so he was drinking the red wine to try and cool him down. He thought it was in the pizza or the water. So he just kept knocking it back, and he keeps getting sweatier and sweatier, and he's getting louder. And you can just see Richie and Macca absolutely creasing themselves. So, Macca, what was your memories of that story?
Yeah, spot on. Juddy gave as good as he got. Let's be honest. But yeah, there's one other missing character in that duo, and it's Mr. G. Gowdy. He's a bad man. He's a bad man as well. Don't forget him. He's a
quiet assassin, isn't he? He doesn't quite. Yeah. He just quietly goes about his business. You don't know.
Richie's a little bit louder, but those. You think I'm bad with Barrow? Those two are even worse.
What's your best story, Juddy? Just as we're on the topic, you must have a few with him, mate.
I actually enjoyed. I think it was Canada. A certain Mr. Kazim Sheikh he'd done over Juddy's bedroom a beauty. He just turned it upside down. You can imagine Juddy the next morning. He's gone absolutely mental.
Be actually more accurate, Macca. I actually managed to get the key card to his room at 3 o'clock in the morning and go in with a jug of ice water, threw it over him in bed. And then when I went to run out, my co-pilot, Richie Berrington, closed the door on me. Inside trying to get out, and I could hear Juddy getting up, and he's like, what the? So yeah, but continue the next morning.
So Juddy was like, right, I've got a good idea who it was. And I think, Shaky, you were batting. And he was like, right, I think I know who it is. I said, well, how are you going to get him back? And he said, well, I've got some wasabi from the sushi we had last night. So he took Shaky's Powerade bottle and just wound it around, like loads of it around the inside. So of course, when he's come out.
How hot was it, Macca? How hot was it in Canada? It was boiling.
Absolutely roasting. So we're all sitting there. Shaky's taking the lid off, and everyone's in on it. Boom! Explosion.
I hit the floor. I remember I was like,
so funny.
He was just standing there going, "My Mitchie, my."
He got you back a beauty.
There's another good story from that tour, Mac. I don't know if you actually answered the phone, but there was a $90 story, which the old Bermuda, and Juddy again was part of that, where we got looked after in Bermuda, didn't we? We got the food and everything was incredible. But on the last day, we were meant to be flying out, and there was a hurricane, which
Hurricane
was mental,
Bertha.
by the way. I was fearing I was scared that was mental. I've never seen anything like that. That was pretty worrying. So we were all in our rooms, and we'd went down for breakfast, Macca, and we'd had a swanky 3-course breakfast that we'd been having. And I thought it'd be quite funny to call round all the rooms and let everybody know that wasn't actually for free, and it was going to be you guys owe $90. So who are you rooming with?
I was with Ross Lyons.
That's right, Ross.
I think I was there when you made the call.
You were, but Ross wasn't that. Ross was actually one of those. He wasn't that bothered, but I think he turned around to you and said afterwards. But what was your recollection?
Well, I remember you going. I'm going to phone the rooms and we'll get Dougie Lockett. We'd been told that I think it was a lunch or breakfast, or whatever it was going to be on the Bermudan cricket board.
Yeah.
So we all went to town. We had a muckle feast. It's blowing a hoolie outside. The palm trees are smashing about. It was going nuts. And Dougie likes his food, and of course he's H2O, so he's swilling it up, and he's eating as much as we can. We had a massive feast, and she says, "I'm going to go back to the rooms and I'm going to phone everyone." So I was like, "I'll come with you." So he phones Dougie's room, and Dougie answers, and he puts on this accent, and he's like, "Just to let you know, Mr. Lockett, that lunch was actually going to cost you $90." And you can imagine Dougie, $90? He went mental. I'm not paying for that. No, it was on the Bermudan cricket board. He was going nuts.
Juddy was like, now, take it up with the Bermudan cricket board. Take it up with the. But I'd actually managed to get a few of the boys because I told them to come to the main reception. And it wasn't until the evening, I think we'd all congregated round, and there was Frago, there was everybody was all round, and we're like, "Did you get a phone call? Did you get a phone call? What's going on with this food? What's going on with it?" And just sitting in the car.
That was good.
That was a good one. Right. One more passing before we leave this tour. Canada. I mean, again, probably one of the favourite cricket tours I've ever been on. What a great bunch of guys. We played good cricket. We enjoyed ourselves off the pitch. We won both games. Both 4 days we won. It was the last night in Canada, and we decided to go to a nightclub, and we were all there together, all having a good time. It was very, very hot. It was an outdoor venue, and you might want to just shed some light. But the next minute I turned around, and you were getting escorted out the venue by a couple of bouncers. What went down?
Well, as you say, it was hot, so I decided to take off my shirt, and I was just having a wee bit of a sort of Gaza moment, and before I knew it, boof, arms behind the back, out of here. I wasn't allowed to take my top off, so it seems. So marched out. That was me, gone.
I think the rest of us left as well, because it was getting quite late, and it was like Marcus getting chucked out. I was actually worried that they might do you in round the corner when they get you outside, but I think you're too nice a guy. You weren't exactly trying to fight them. You were just looking at you.
I was just like, well, I'm not going to wrestle with these boys. They've absolutely got me all arms up here, so I'm out of fear. Yep, thanks, boys. No worries.
Thanks, boys. So again, you wanted to touch on some stuff as well, but some Flanners and a few other things in regards to Macca on the field, but. One of the other knocks that I think really stands out when I was looking at your career, and it was very early again, was 100 that you scored against Ireland in Nairobi, which, I think you're only the second ODI 100 for Scotland after Ryan Watson. Talk to me about that. That must have been a big knock for you.
Yeah, it was. Where was that again?
Nairobi.
Nairobi, that's right.
Kenya.
Yeah. Sorry. We were chasing 270, 280. We were 50 for 3. Went out and managed to get a partnership going with Floppy. He had a runner. So Frago was out there. And as we started getting to over 100 and 120 and 150, the Irish started sort of getting a little panic on. And every over, Frago would come in. Me and Floppy would chat, right, we're going to target this or we're going to do that. And you can imagine Fraggle was running about like a madman. Floppy would hit it. Fraggle's up and down like a yo-yo. It was carnage. And we managed to get pretty close to it. I got out for, I think, just over 100, maybe 100, 101. Still needed 30 left. And Floppy took us closer. And then Righty hit, I think, Kevin O'Brien back over the top off the second last ball to win it. But, I mean... The 100 was, I managed to sort of get to 50 and again, just chat to Floppy, let's just keep it going here. Let's just take it as deep as we can. And managed to get Trent Johnson away. And then Kyle McCallum came on. And I think I was on 93 maybe. And I ran down the wicket and somehow managed to hit him inside out over extra. And Porterfield, who was at long off, came screaming round. He's a magic fielder. Mm-hmm. And he's dived full length and he's held the catch. So I've run the single thinking I'm out. And then there was a couple like Jim McFadden and these guys, there was a couple of supporters. They're like, no, he's hit the rope. He's gone over the rope or he's touched it. So it's 6. So I'm walking off and then suddenly I'm called back by, I think Darryl Hare was umpiring. He's like, no, he's touched the rope at 6. So that was me on to 99. I think Langford Smith bowled one and I hit it down to mid-on. And yeah, it was a great relief for that 100. The only disappointing thing was I didn't quite see it through. I think I tried to hit Ant Bota out of the park and skied one. So, but yeah, no, I loved playing the Irish. It was a real good battle, and to get 100 against them was really special.
We've done it a few times. I'm skipping on a little bit, but we went to South Africa for the World Cup qualifiers. It was in a losing cause, unfortunately. But there's a common theme here that you score your runs at a crucial time when the team tends to be under the pump. That's a really important type of player to have in your side, because we were in trouble that game as well, as we were a lot of that tour. With the top order didn't really fire, and you and Jan Stander, I think it was that day. You played a blinder. Good memories. Benoni, I think that was.
It was Benoni, yeah. No, again, as you say, but I think we were 20 for 3, maybe even 20 for 4 again. And Trent Johnston and Boyd Rankin were all over us, and Gav and Ryan and these guys at the top of the order sadly had got out. And it was Kyle initially. Kyle and I managed to put on, I think, 70 or 80, and then Kyle got out for sort of late 30s and managed to get a little partnership with Righty going, and then latterly Jan Stander. And I think I got to maybe just over the 100 with 2 or 3 overs to go, and then started to whack a few out of the ground. It was a good wicket at Benoni. It was really good, but sadly 230 was never enough, and the Irish knocked it off in about 30 overs.
They absolutely smacked it that day. Porterfield played a very different innings to I've ever seen him play before. He just came out and smashed it at the top.
Morgan smoked 60. He smashed it, and Porterfield.
Oh, that's right. Poor Monib. Monib came on a shortest long on boundary there to Morgan, and he got creamed. But yeah, that was a frustrating tour, because we didn't really find our feet after that. I mean, it was a very strong team, but unfortunately, that was kind of the way it just went for us after that. Because when you got that 100, I really believed that might be you and Jan getting us to that total. We should defend this. We've got a strong bowling attack, but it didn't really work out for us on that tour. You played in a couple of World Cups, Macca. One in particular, I went out there with you, was the T20 World Cup, South Africa. That was your first experience of playing the World Cup, wasn't it?
That was 2 years after the West Indies in 07.
I forget you played in the 07.
Yeah, that was an amazing.
Let's talk about that first then. Let's talk about that first.
That was an amazing experience. We flew into Barbados, had a couple of warm-up matches against Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, which it was an amazing experience. I honestly look back on it so fondly. And I know the team, we had a seriously tough group with Australia, South Africa, Holland. Yeah. We underperformed in those 3 matches. Obviously, Australia was always going to be tough. South Africa as well, and then we got blown away with the Dutch, which was just a disaster. But the whole experience was amazing. Just being there, I remember just sitting around the changing room and looking at the World Cup's opening ceremony down in Antigua, and I'm walking along the corridor, and there's Sachin Tendulkar coming out of his room. Morning. I'm like, what am I doing here? This is nuts. And then in the lift there's Ricky Ponting, morning, one of my heroes, and I'm just like, this is insane. But it was an amazing experience. Just being there, and outriders and police helicopters and escorts to the games, and checking under the bus for bombs, and just.
Macca, that must be pretty mental, though. Obviously, being the head of maths for Watsonians, to be head of maths and then be at a World Cup, semi-pro cricketer. How do you prepare for that mentally? Like, what was it when you went out to bat, against Australia? How do you do it?
You've got to do your knowledge, Flanners. I was dropped for the Australia game.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I was dropped for the Aussie game, but that's all right. Yeah, I came back in against South Africa, and this is actually one of my things I really struggle with. I faced 18 balls for 1, and it was one of those days that, as I said earlier, you know, try and get a single and get down the other end. Yeah. I couldn't get that single. And you had Callis and Andrew Hall and Charles Lagerfeld. Lovely wicket in St Kitts. I just could not, and my hands got tighter. I'm hitting, you know, you've got De Villiers, Gibbs. I just could not get the ball away. And it's one of my biggest, it's tough to say regret, but one of the things I think back on, I think, man, that was a nightmare. And the whole world are watching you, and this guy, McCallum, cannot get the ball off the square. Eventually, Callis threw one. I threw my hands. It went out to deep cover point for 1, but that was the only single, and then tried to hit Lagerfeld somewhere and got bowled. So yeah, it was that was disappointing. That was a real big challenge. But yeah, head of maths, Flanners, you better fill the viewers in on that one.
Mac has always been good with numbers. A little joke that's kicked about the club changing rooms a long time. Head of maths, he's always good at getting the DL right, and he's definitely a PE teacher, put it that way.
It was fun with Creeth. He came. Blaney brought him in a couple of seasons ago, and he says, "You know, Macca," and I was like, "Hi, Finn, how you doing?" And Finn goes, "Oh, you work at Watson's, don't you?" And I went, "Yeah, that's right. I'm head of maths." And the whole changing room just erupted, and it kind of stuck. "Oh, Macca, what are we?" "Well, we're 60 off 10. We're going at 6 and over." And I'm like, "Oh, very good."
Oh, brilliant.
Oh dear, definitely not head of maths. Definitely not head of maths. Then another one, the T20 World Cup. I know a wee bit more about it because I was there with you. Probably feeding you a couple of drinks in the boundary line, keeping you hydrated and all that. You know, it was very important to keep the hydration levels high in these tours. That's just a wee bit of banter. Me and Flanners have got going, Macca. We're quite experienced in that department.
I know. I've listened to your podcasts. I know.
No, not bitter at all. Not bitter at all, Macca. But again, that was a couple of warm-up games. I don't actually remember how you did in the warm-up games, if I'm being honest. My memory was the first game properly against Pakistan of you. I think you took I remember you took an important catch a lot, or did it go over your head?
Well, I walked in a few yards.
Shit.
You know who's bowling? You know who's bowling? The crazy-eyed action man Panthero. He's chucked it up, and Shahid Afridi's just run at it. Boof! Yep. I've got this. Of course, in South Africa, it just travels. And the boundary, boof, over the top. Match! He's going raj. So, yeah, he whacked it, and no, I didn't get a snare, unfortunately.
And we could have won that game, Macca. We really could have won that game that day. That was, you know, the bowlers bowled really, really well. I mean, poor Ross Lyons got dropped in the morning of the game because we decided to bring in another seamer. He was on the bus, I remember. Felt for him, but it was a good decision because Wrighty came back into the team. I think he took a couple of wickets, but we had them in serious trouble. And I remember Afridi and I think it was Yunus Khan. They just had a wee cameo, didn't they? Just kind of got their total up a wee bit. But Fraggle was going at a rate of knots for us. He was smoking it, and we could have chased that day. I really believe we could have chased it.
Fraggle was brilliant. He took it on. He really did. He took it to them. I think he got, as you say, he got 50 and he smashed it. But unfortunately, no one could really stay with him and get closer.
Who did you get out to?
A top edge second ball off Shahid Afridi, caught in the boundary for 0.
Was that sweeping? Sweeping, Macca?
That was a sweep.
I like the sweeper.
He probably remembered you, didn't he, from Edinburgh?
Well, my head of PE, who sat at home, sadly he passed away, Ian Brown. I got home and he went, "We sat down with a party to watch you, and you've gone all the way to South Africa for a second ball duck." I was just like, "Oh." Yeah.
And it was a bit of a gutter as well because it was a packed house a couple of nights later for what was going to be a game against India, which is the stuff that dreams are made of, and the rain just didn't stop at Durban.
It belted down, and there was no chance. So the ground was underwater when the umpires called it. It was a real shame. As you say, the place would have gone off.
We could have qualified. We were still in the contention. We could have still gone through if things. Obviously, we'd had to beat India, which wouldn't have been easy. But it could, you know, you never know.
You never know in T20. Someone comes off, or someone has a good spell of bowling, or someone like Fraggle gets on with it, and you just never know.
It was the same. It was the same as you mentioned there, though, Macca, when you were saying when you went to the World Cup in West Indies. We attended, I don't know if you remember, the ICC Awards.
Yeah.
And it was the same experience, man. I remember just sitting and I was like, Gav, I think I was sitting next to Gav, and Yuvraj turned round to Gav and was like, "How's Max?" And I'm like, "No, man." I mean, Gav and Yuvraj are just chatting away. So I was always like, "Gav, do you know him? Do you know him? Do you know him? Do you know him?" They all knew Gav because these guys played. They all played together. But it was a starstruck event. It was just everybody you're away getting a wee soft drink at the side, and you're standing next to the who's who of world cricket. It is quite a surreal feeling.
Well, that's what you mentioned. That I was in the shopping centre with Gav, and suddenly Adam Gilchrist comes up, and Drummer was with us as well. And he's like, "Hey, Gav, how you doing?" I'm like, "Jesus, Adam Gilchrist is a legend." He's like, "This is Macca," and then he obviously turns to Drummer and goes, "This is Toby," and Toby's just giving it the.
Remember that?
How are you doing?
How you doing,
Toby.
Oh, it's genius. That stuck. I still call Drummer Toby. It was brilliant.
You're shaky. I don't know who's got a bigger backside, Macca or Drummle.
I think Macca would probably still have it covered, to be honest. I think Macca would have it covered. Macca's more of a natural. It's just huge.
That was always someone in the Scottish
fluctuates, I think. He fluctuates with his weight. He's up and down. But Macca's is just doesn't matter how fit he is. It's still just
strong though. Just strong.
He's made for the sweep. It's made for the sweep. You went on to play in another World Cup then. You know, when you actually look at it, you're really blessed. You got to play in, the biggest stage of them all 3 times, because you played in the World Cup in England as well, 2009.
2009, yeah. That was a great tournament as well. The build up with games at Trent Bridge against England and at the Oval against Holland. Again, just an incredible occasion. And then we played the shortened game against New Zealand. And we scored about 90. Oh, Dougie Lockhart's 90 off about.
Rhino smashed it, didn't he?
Rhino, I think Navi got on with it. Kyle as well. Yeah, we got 90. And then, honestly, Jesse Ryder just went boom. Well, they smoked it. They knocked it off with about an over to spare. It was mental.
I know, it was crazy. We were sick. There was 90 something off 6 overs, and you're thinking, we're going to win a game at the World Cup.
That was on the TV, wasn't it? I remember watching that. Incredible.
Kyle Coetzer catch is what stands out as well at that tournament. I think was against South Africa.
South Africa, yeah. I think he got Boucher caught on the boundary. What a catch.
Yeah. It's one of the best catches it's up there. Yeah. Something else I wanted to on a memory of playing with you, Macca, and I'll you normally love the banter. You normally take it really, really well, and there's never any issues. But there's this one.
What's coming here?
There's this one time when it didn't go down well, and it was me and Richie just seems to be always in these stories, doesn't he? It's always, Gowdy and Richie, Macca and Richie, Flanners. So anybody, Richie Berrington might come across as this, to the outside world, I think he always comes across as really innocent, but we know him from being on tours. You've got to watch your back when he's around. So we went to Tesco and we're at Manofield. I think we were playing against, was it the Irish game or was it maybe the Dutch?
I think it was the New Zealand. There was a lot of rain.
That's right. It was the Tri-Series against New Zealand and Ireland. That's right. So it was raining at that point. We were off the pitch. Just all kind of lazing back. Me and Richie walked down to the Tesco's, and there was this massive fish, like the full fish. Like, I don't know what it was, a haddock or whatever the hell it was.
I'll tell you what it was. It was a rainbow trout. Big, massive rainbow trout.
I said, Richie, should we buy this fish? And the plan was to probably put it in your kit bag. So he's like, all right, okay, let's get this fish. So we've got, I think the bloody fish cost about, it wasn't cheap either. It was spent some money on that fish.
I don't want to get I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, carry on. Sorry.
So we've got back to the changing room, and you had those. Who was it you were sponsored by again? You were always.
Pete Sports.
Pete Sports, that's it. So those pads with the little red on them, your bat had the red sticker as well. So I've seen your pad, and it was a big pad, and it had obviously the bit that sits in the middle, and I just thought, this is made for it, man. We're playing Australia a week later, or 4 or 5 days later. We're playing Australia at the Grange. Took the fish out, put the fish inside the pad, buckled your pads up so you couldn't see the fish, put it back in your kit bag. All's well. And was it that day, or was it a wee bit later. We'd come for it. I think we'd come back to the. I don't think you used your pad again that day. We'd come back to the changing room the next day, either for a practice or we were playing another game. It was definitely a bit of time afterwards. And the fucking change. Oh, the changing room was the changing room was stinking, absolutely stinking. And you know, and I'm sitting in the corner. Everyone's like, "Where's that smell? Where's that smell?" And then you figured out, and you're like, you pulled the fish out from your pad, and you were raging, Macca. I've never seen you that angry. You're like, I'm going to go out. Brad Haddon's going to be keeping on. I'm going to be saying to him, my fucking pad stinks of fish, you know. What's that? And then I got proper nailed. Like we've spoke about this, lads. No kit is to be touched. And I'm like, oh no, man. Tell us that you were raging, weren't you?
I wasn't happy. As you say, the rule was do not touch someone's kit. I just remember opening the bag. Whoa! I thought it's in here somewhere. Turned the pad round, and here's this beautiful like rainbow trout, and its eye was just winking at me. Oh, the smell! I was raging. Honestly, don't touch anyone's kit. But no, Jakey, I still owe you one for that.
To be honest,
I'm sorry. I'll put it on record now. That was one that I did leave the changing room that day thinking, shouldn't have done that. I thought at the time it's Macca, man. Macca won't mind because I did choose. I mean, can you imagine I'd done that to Blaney?
Oh, you wouldn't be here today.
He would have went mental. The whole changing room would have been turned upside down. Listen, you had a bit of a fishy pad the next week against Australia, wasn't it?
Shaky.
That was a great day as well. Went out to play against the Aussies. Gouds got a fiver, which was a great achievement. You took a good catch in a long off boundary, Macca. Can't remember it might have been off David Hussey, who'd scored a fine 100. But what was your memory of that day? It was a pretty star-studded Aussie team.
Oh man, they were loaded with stars. I think they scored nearly 400, 380. Mm-hmm. Yeah. David Hussey got 150 odd.
We had them in a wee bit. We actually had them in, early doors. Had them in a wee bit of bother.
It sounds like it.
You were there. You were sitting. I remember you sitting behind. You were giving me a bit of jip in the crowd, and one went up, and I got a catch off. I think it was Bodges. I ran in, and I could just sense if I drop this right now, I'm going to get. I was so relieved when I caught it. I didn't do that very often. Like I was prone for dropping a catch, but. Macca, we did have them. We got Warner early. We got a few early wickets, but Hussey and Vodges were just class.
Hussey was class. He was just running at the ball and whacking it towards Inverleith Pond.
Macca, do you know hit one over the trees at the bottom of the Grange off Madge? Like over the top, out the ground. I remember that. It was huge.
Honestly, miles. He just kept running at it, and Madge was varying his pace, and he was just smoking them. Oh, they were class.
That was when I was a young lad then. I'm pretty sure I was watching, and you've been maybe Scotland under 19s. I was thinking, this is what you want to be a part of. Do you know what I mean? And all I remember from that game was how clean these boys hit the ball. Like it was incredible. Just the timing. But it was just I've seen some big sixes like Gowdy's six at Trent Bridge in the CB40 when he hit the top tier. It was going up. At the bottom, that was big. But David Hussey that day. I want to talk about animals actually quickly. Going back to the Grange days, right? Me and Mac have been many bus tours back after successful days from maybe Stirling in the Scottish Cup or even just up in Arbroath. Mac had talked about the sea trout there, and surprised he didn't have a wee nibble at it because there's a wee story when we're coming back from an away day. The lads having a few drinks and. There's a wee hatch on the top of the bus, right? And we've opened the hatch up to get a bit of fresh air in. And this little slug is just dropped in. This slug's dropped in. So as Macca does, comes up with some mad, game. Right, lads, right? We'll play a game for this, and whoever loses the game will eat the slug, right? So I've set the scene, Macca. You tell the rest.
Well, I always suggest these games, and I always end up being in the final. So it's landed on one of the Edwards boys, Will or Henry. And they're like, it's a slug, as Flanner says. So I was like, right, let's have a game of fives. And the loser has to eat the slug. So we've obviously had a few beers from Aberdeen. We're about Dundee now. And it's Raj and I in the final. The Dr. Raj Roughtry. So Raj and I was like this, oh my word, I don't believe this. So anyway, I end up losing. And I'm like, well, come on then. So when I was in Asda in Aberdeen, I'd bought a packet of the Walker's Sensation Poppadoms, the lime ones. So I popped the slug onto the Poppadom, in, chew, and then you get the pop. Oh, man, it was brutal. But I told the story got out that I'd done this, and there was a couple of members of staff at school, and they messaged me. A guy had done the same in Australia, and sadly he'd eaten a slug in a garden, and he basically was a quadriplegic, and then he passed away. And they were like, "Man, you've dodged a bullet here." And I was like, I got the message. So the message out here for anyone: if a slug falls through your bus roof, do not eat it.
Do not eat it. Do not eat it. But that is just you to a T. You always came up with these bright ideas, and it could quite often backfire on you and end up being you
that Dundee route, that little slip road just after the first Dundee roundabout. There's a few pants down peas on that way home. Trust me.
A lot of horns as we went past.
Scottish Cup. I mean, you boys have won a lot. You think 3 Scottish Cups in your time, 3 Scottish Cup victories.
Yeah, lost 2 finals as well. But yeah, managed to get 3 out of the 5, which is.
Tell me about. I always had a bike trip.
Yeah, the first one we won was 2013 against Carlton. We lost the toss. We got 220. It was probably par, to be honest, and we managed to bowl Carlton out for 190. They had, Fraggle, Drummo, Preston Momsen. So that was a brilliant win. And to win the first Scottish Cup was an awesome experience at Stirling. I love playing there. It's a great place to play. A few beers there, back to the club, a few beers in the trophy, a lap around the ground with...
Naked.
Yeah, okay. Few items of clothing missing. But that morning I'd said to Pip, look, you come through with Sophie, I'll cycle down for some reason and I'll cycle home. She's like, what happens if you win? I said, look, I'll cross that bridge, I'll get a taxi. Anyway, 1:30 in the morning, I've got school the next day. I'm thinking, I've got the bike here. So get the helmet on, get on the bike. Chris Soule jumps out behind a car as I'm leaving Grange. And I totter off my bike into the sort of side of the fence there by the tennis court. I'm like, Solly, come on, I've got to cycle 10 miles back to Fairmile Head, just leave me. So I set off. I don't know how I got home in one piece. I remember putting my bike in the garage, locking the door, lying on the concrete path down to the garage, looking up at the stars, just going, yes!
Brilliant.
So that was a long day. So the next day at school was even longer.
It's quite a surreal experience, isn't it? Like playing cricket at Stirling with the castle in the background and the monument. It's to do that 2 times there was brilliant, and just the camaraderie with the lads and in the dressing room afterwards, and we were straight arming rum and stuff out the Scottish Cup, and Macca's lying along the bar, people were pouring stuff into him. It was sensational, and even the batting in those games, mate. Again, you turned up a couple of times as well, so. These are sort of memories that a lot of people play club cricket and for years and never get a chance to do that. And I suppose you're right, Shaky. That was the glory hunting days. The reason I went to Grange was to go bat in a better wicket. I don't know if that was always the case, but it's certainly to be able to win the Scottish Cups and to be a part of it with Neil was brilliant. I have to admit.
Great achievement. Unfortunately, not had the pleasure of winning the Scottish Cup. But you boys have done it 3 times.
Even against Heriots, like Macca's just absolutely dispatched them there 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago, Macca? 3 years ago?
2018, yeah. We needed 10 to win. And someone got out and I was like, impressed. I'm like, Macca, you go, last game. Okay, so I took guard, first ball, dot, and then second ball out of nowhere, left arm spinner, Michael Sheehan. Into the tennis court. Slug sweep, 6, 4 to win, dot ball. I think it was Keith Morton, sadly, dropped one down and Gouds just smoked it to the boundary for 4. But that was another good day. The Scottish Cup for me they were the best days. Just losing 2 as well. They were quality games as well. But to win it was an amazing feeling. And as Flanner says, just having beers in the change room after with all your mates, and the bus journey back to Edinburgh, which was pretty loose, was good fun.
No, it's good.
That's
why you play. That's why you play sport.
Sounds like a great time. Sorry, Flanners.
No, I'm just saying that's why you play sport, isn't it? To be around your lads, it's the camaraderie, and that's why I always say to any young people, why wouldn't you want to play a team sport? It's fantastic.
You must get pretty lonely as a tennis player and whatnot. Like, is it? It's cricket. Some of the best. I mean, winning in Kenya. Were you in Kenya when we won the I Cup game?
No.
You don't think you went in that tour? But Bermuda and Canada, like that was probably my greatest memories, and to win with the boys and just be there together. Singing "O Flower of Scotland" in the bus. I mean, you would have been part of that on many occasions and many tours. There's no better feeling.
They were brilliant days. Those that was one of the best trips. The Canada Bermuda. There was no big names. There was no egos. Yeah. It was just 15 guys all playing for their country, and we performed brilliantly. We beat Bermuda. Yeah. What a ground that was! Remember that? Like the wicket, we turned up. It was bright orange.
You don't remember there was a crowd? They had the crowd in as well. Yeah. I remember me, Omi, and Madge walking around the boundary line, and the guy started saying to us, "This ain't no Scotland. It's Pakistan." This ain't no Scotland, Pakistan. And we were like, what the hell? And they were getting right into it and coming up to the boundary line. It was just as different because we play in Scotland. I mean, you're lucky you get a few punters on the boundary line, but to play in front of a decent crowd there was good fun. And Canada wasn't as nice a ground.
No, it wasn't Toronto. No, it wasn't. But still, I mean, you've still got to go and do a job. And Dougie, yep. Was it Dougie? Dougie got a big 100. He got 150 maybe.
Yeah, we got a partnership with maybe it's a record. It's number 3 record, 290. 200. I got 96, so he got 150.
Yeah, I was going to say 80.
But yeah, Dougie drank a fair amount of H2O and that. I don't know. I think we had to probably get a delivery of bottles in, man. He was just sweating, just drinking constantly.
He's always got a big bottle on his shoulder.
I roomed with Dougie in Bangladesh, yeah. And honestly, pitch black. And then you'd heard 1 a.m. I was like, what's that? Oh, it's Dougie drinking water. And then another hour later, guzzled bottles of H2O.
Maka, who's the best player you played with in the Scotland team?
From Scotland, or can it be overseas?
Scottish player.
Both.
Overseas would be George Bailey.
Class.
Lucky enough to play with him at Grange for 2 years. He came, I think, 07 and 10 maybe, or 06 and 10. He was different gravy. He was class. And what a guy as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then best Scottish, probably Costa. Kyle's that. I don't know how he plays shots back down the ground with that high elbow. It's incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Enjoy playing with Gavin.
Played some freakish innings. I mean, that Bangladesh one in the World Cup, that was ridiculous.
Outstanding. He's been brilliant for Scotland for, I don't know, must be coming up 20 years. He's brilliant. A great county career down south with Durham and the other guys, Northants. But no, Kyle was magic. Absolutely brilliant.
Who's the best you've played against?
Easy. Scary eyes. Murley. Unbelievable. Really? Oh, unbelievable.
Did you play against him when he was at Lancashire, or did you play? Was it against Sri Lanka because he played at Lancs as well? I know Scotland played against him a few times.
Yeah, we played him at Lancashire. I remember Floppy coming down the wicket. I'd just got down on one knee, bang, stuck him in the car park at Old Trafford. Floppy's come down. Mackie, where did that come from? I was like, I haven't a clue. Just literally, he was so unbelievable to face. You could hear the ball fizzing towards you, and his eyes would light up, and he was incredible, absolutely incredible.
What's Maka? Where's I suppose something we talked on quite earlier was when's the most nervous you've been before a game and maybe during a game? Can you think back?
Yeah, we've talked about it already. The most nervous I've been was Scotland, Pakistan. That was squeaky bum time. Yeah. Being 20-4, but when I actually get out to the middle, all those emotions take over and the fear goes away. Yeah. And during a game, I'll tell you now, Shaky, you played in it. Can you remember in Deventer? We were chasing 73 to win against Holland, and we were 6 for 5, and then 18 for 6, and out comes the Panther. Yeah. And he and I managed to get us over the line. We were both 33.
What about that game? That was That was bloody hell. A good memory there, Mac.
By the way, he's the worst watcher of cricket as well, Neil McCallum. You don't want to sit beside him if you're chasing, because he just can't watch. He can't watch Gowdy bat at the best of times, but Mac is a nightmare. Oh, I'm nervous now. Oh, I can't watch, boys. That's Mac of the team.
Yeah, but you sit there and go, oh, we're never going to win this. We need 150 off, 18 over. I'm like, Flanners, just stay calm. Honestly, he's the worst. You give it out. But yeah, no, that game in Deventer was crazy. 6 for 5 chasing 73.
I remember it well now.
Oh, they were all over us. Peter Borum was in our ears and all these guys. And then out comes Panther. They had 2 gullies and he kept just doing that with his bat, guiding it down guiding these guys at gully like that. Panther just fed it through that gap, and we both finished 33 not out, which was that was another good night out as well. That was a good win. That was a really good win.
That was a very good win. Both of you played. I remember it so well now that you've refreshed the memory. But we were out the game. We were done, and in the end, you did it really casually as well. That's the thing about it. Panther, just like you say, nudging it. You were choosing your shots well, taking on the right ones, because you were a bit more attacking. You were taking if I remember right, you waited, and then took a few spinners on and got a couple away, and we ended up getting over the line pretty comfortably in the end. But it wasn't comfortable at one point.
So, honestly, I was at the other end, and like Rusty was cleaned up. Matthew Parker gone. It was crazy. We were in massive trouble. But again, we just got
again. Come of the hour. You stepped up when it seems that you really did score your best runs when we were against under pressure. I'm sure for Grange as well. Flanners, you will have seen him do it many times over the years when you've been in a wee sticky situation, and then Macca comes in. You seem to really enjoy the fight.
You know what? I'm going to mention Flanners here. We played Clydesdale, that match you were at in 2014, and Madge and the late Condalanga, they were all over us, and I was like, we were dotting up. I think we had 4 or 5 maidens between probably 13th and 18th overs. I said, Flanners, something's got to change here, or we're going to dig a hole. And he said, right, like, okay. I said, I'll target Madge next over. You target Con, and he whacked Con over long on for 6. I ran at Madge, which is not an easy thing to do. Ran at Madge twice, got inside it, over mid-off. You can imagine Madge steam kind of his ears. But those two, when they bowled in tandem, they were outstanding. And,
class. They won so many games at that point.
I just found Madge so difficult to get away. I've never been a big sweeper of the balls. I could hit cow corner and go downtown, but Madge is just tough and change of pace. And Con was a great bowler as well, great guy. And that was a memorable game. And that's what stands out for me as a cricketer, for Mac is just the bottle. You've always had a lot of bottle. You used to get some dodgy, a bit of cramp here or there, but a wee bit like me. But you always had a big ticker, Mac, and it's hopefully young Ollie will take after his old man and be good at golf rather than cricket.
Is there any chance, young Ollie? How's he looking with a cricket bat in his hand?
Good.
He's not bad, yeah. He loves it. To be honest, anything, tennis, golf, cricket, anything with a ball, rugby, football, he's into everything. In lockdown, there's a bit of grass behind the house here, and I cut a wicket. All the neighbours are like, "What is this guy doing?" So I've just cut this strip of grass, put the stumps in that we painted in lockdown. These wooden stumps my dad gave me, and he just ran up and bowled. And I thought, you know what? One day I'm going to have a wee shot here. So he says, "Dad, you going to bat? You haven't got any pads on?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all right." And he had a hard ball. He's bowled on this thing. It's come off a length. It's hit me on the shoulder, and I'm like, "Right, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm done." He was going to knock my teeth in on a wee patch of grass out the back here. But no, we go down to Pennycook on a Friday night and play in the quick cricket tournaments on a Sunday morning, and he enjoys it. So yeah, we'll see where he gets to.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. And how's life with you? How are you enjoying your 40s? Even though I still can't believe I'm saying that. Neil McCallum, 43 years old. How are you enjoying your life? Fatherhood now, family life. You look like you've taken to it very well.
I'm absolutely loving it. Work's busy, so Pip teaches down at Watson's as well. So we all head together in the morning at 7:30. The kids are now into after school clubs and loads of activities, and we come back together. And then in the evenings we sort of turn into taxi drivers. Sophie does gymnastics down at Portobello. Ollie's got his football for Bonnyrigg, and Watsonian rugby on a Sunday. So every day there's swimming, gymnastics, tennis. it's really busy. But you know what? That's why I retired. I want to spend time with them, and I would love to still be playing. And I actually think I'm probably fit enough to still be playing, and I do miss it. But I want to spend time with the family, and for me, that's number one. And yeah, they're great fun.
It was nice to meet them. It was nice to meet them beforehand. We were having some technical issues, weren't we, Flanners? Macca didn't know how to get his screen with the three of us on it. So his lovely daughter, what's your daughter called?
Sophie.
Sophie kindly came, and Macca, you were still trying to fidget and get in her way, but Sophie just kind of let you know there, like, can you just back off?
Head of maths.
I was just about to say I might be head of maths, but I'm not head of information technology computing. Yeah.
Definitely not. But Sophie managed to get us sorted and get us going. So it was really nice to meet your kids. And look, I just want to say it's been a real pleasure taking a trip down memory lane with you. It's been fun to have Mr. Flanners on as well, all at the same time. You obviously play a lot of cricket together and have done up until recently. I think you had a great career, really fantastic career for Scotland. It was a pleasure to play with you. Hopefully we get to cross paths at some point. Is there anybody you want to thank or mention before we go off?
No, I think probably my wife Pippa first and foremost. She's had to deal with me behind the scenes, maybe calming me down or picking me up when I've had a few bad days. But no, I mean really just all you guys that have made this journey so enjoyable, and some of the trips and some of the places we've been to. When you sit and actually think, like the kids say, "Have you been to Bermuda?" And you go, "Yeah, in Canada." And some of the trips we've had and some of the experiences have been unbelievable. And if we can help this younger generation with some of these experiences or some of the knowledge that we have, then if we can help a few kids out there to help them on the cricket field, then I think that's really, really valuable. And that's not just my job as a teacher, but anyone who's involved at a cricket club, just trying to help these younger players is massive.
Well, listen, chaps, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and you guys take care of yourselves.
Cheers, Macca.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Macca.
boys.